Hey my wonderful sweet baby. So today we're going to be talking about Diddy going into federal custody and how he has a possibility of going to a grand jury indictment. Now you guys, there's a lot to this story. I'm going to try to read and speak fast so we can get through everything. Because literally as I speak, there is still information coming out on Diddy. So this is just moments before Diddy actually was indicted. As you can see, he's here hanging out with his family. Here's another clip of Diddy hanging out with his family. I know it's a little bit gloomy. Another thing that I also want to mention is that Diddy willingly went to New York on his own because he knew that these actions were allegedly going to happen. So here was the start of it all. USA Attorney SDNY stated USA Damian Williams earlier this evening federal agents arrested Sean Combs based on a sealed indictment filed by the SDNY. We expected to move the unsealed to the indictment in the morning, and we will have more to say at this time. So information started to progress, and then we found out that the authorities claimed and seized his, freak-off supplies, and that Diddy's house was also raided. Now, this is the LA and Miami home that was raided previously. During those raids, they actually found over 1,000 bottles of lube and baby oil. So here's a little bit of the claim. It says, delivery of IV fluids in or about March 2024 during searches of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California. Law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Now, the Shade Room had posted some information as well. It says that Diddy indicted on the S trafficking, racketeering, P charges, as well as accused of using his businesses to engage in kidnapping, arson, bribery, and more. So count one is the racketeering and conspiracy. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise engaged and attempted to engage in, among other activities, as trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of P, coercion, and enticement to engage in P, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. So here's the second count. The defendant in an affecting interstate and foreign commerce knowingly reunited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, and solicited by any means a person knowing in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion would be used to cause the person to engage in commercial S act and attempted, aided, and embedded and willfully caused the same wit. Combs recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, and maintained a person and attempted, aided, and embedded and willfully caused victim one to engage in commercial S act. Knowingly in reckless disregard, the victim one was engaging in commercial as a result of force, fraud, and coercion. Now, I believe this whole thing here is in regards to Cassie, but I think a little sprinkles of it is in regards to maybe 50 Cent's baby mama as well, allegedly. Now, here's count three. From at least in or about 2009 and up, including in or about 2024 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Diddy knowingly transported an individual in the interstate and foreign commerce with the intent that the individual engage in P and attempted, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused the same to wit. Combs transported, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused the transportation of a female victims and commercial S workers in interstate and foreign commerce on multiple occasions with the intent that they engage in P. After that, Diddy's lawyer actually spoke on his behalf and says that he's going to plead not guilty and that he's innocent of any and every charge that he is accounted for. Now, a couple messages from the celebrities. Aubrey O'Day had posted, the purpose of justice is to provide an ending and allow us to space to create a new chapter. Women never get this. I feel validated. Today is a win for women all over the world, not just me. Things are finally changing. And Aubrey has definitely kept a foot on Diddy's neck ever since she's worked with him. Now, the spiritual world had a few pages of the indictment, and I want to go over them with you guys. So it says on numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. Combs' violence was also not limited to these women. It extended to his employees, witnesses, to his abuse, and others. Damn. Then it says, in arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of the Combs enterprise, transported commercial S-workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial S-workers. During freak-offs, Combs disputed a variety of controlled substances to victims in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Sometimes unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept the videos he filmed of victims engaging in S acts with commercial S workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertions and drug use. Then it continues on page 8 and says this. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promises of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substances. Then it says, during and separate from freak-offs, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days to weeks to heal. Also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods, including if they resisted participating in freak-offs. So a representative came forth and actually spoke out and stated that there is actual video footage that was allegedly raided from Diddy's home of these freak-offs. Here's just more of the indictment. I'm not going to go through and read it, but I will have it here on the screen so you guys can pause it and read it for yourselves if you like to. Of course, Diddy's enemy, as well as longtime rival 50 Cent, came forth and said this. Here I am keeping good company with Drew Barrymore, and I don't have 1,000 bottles of lube at my house. So after calculating up everything that Diddy could possibly be indicted for, here's the amount of time that he could face. So 1, for racketeering, off the bat, he's looking at life in prison. For the second count, S trafficking, he's looking at maximum amount is life in prison and then a minimum amount of 15 years. And for the transportation for P, his maximum amount is 10 years in prison. So pretty much, Diddy is looking at possibly facing 10 years to life in prison. What's even crazier is that they're actually thinking about denying Diddy of bail because they think if they do give him bail, that he is more than likely going to flee. What's even more interesting is that it was a breaking news that Kevin Lau stepped down as the 300 Entertainment CEO. People are thinking that this isn't just a coincidence and that this may have something to do with Diddy. And he is maybe a part of things, allegedly, so they think that this is maybe his attempts to trying to sever ties with him and Diddy. I'm also not going to read this, but this was his, little statements amongst everything. Here's a little bit more of what he had to say. If you guys are reading it, go ahead and pause it and see what he had to say. And the last but not least information that we've gathered is that Diddy is actually looking to put up $50 million for bond. And he's pretty much coming up with this $50 million in bond by putting up one of his homes. The home that he's putting up is his home in Florida, and it is roughly $48 million, so he's going to use that to pretty much get himself out on bond. Ooh, child. So here's my thoughts. Much like what Aubrey O'Day said, I completely agree. I feel like this is redemption for all of Diddy's victims. I'm really surprised that there's actually even a lawyer willing to touch this case, but I digress. And I must admit, I really didn't think that he was going to be receiving this much time in prison, but definitely it's justice. I'm a 90s baby, and I've been knowing about these things that Diddy's been doing for a very long time. And this is well deserved at this point. As far as the Kevin Lau situation, I definitely think that he has something to do with this, allegedly. Because this is all coming at a very random time, and I just feel like we're going to see a lot of things unfold lately. But that's my opinion. What's yours?